Hey there, clan, and it's that time again. Yep, we are finished with Dragon Age Inquisition Trespasser DLC. I do apologise for the delay on getting this video out, as I wanted to take a wee while to actually think about the DLC, and then, of course, have a couple of ideas in my head. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I do have a full playthrough of the playthrough, Dragon Age Trespasser DLC. I will leave a link in the description, or if I do, I'll put an annotation on screen where you can click it and go watch the full playthrough. This video will contain spoilers for the DLC, so if you have not yet completed the DLC, or unfortunately you haven't been able to get the DLC due to the fact either you own the previous gen version of the game, or you just have to wait basically, I would recommend clicking off this video. If you're wondering whether or not you should get the DLC, get it, in my opinion, especially if you're a Dragon Age lore fan. That's my review in a nutshell. If you're a Dragon Age lore fan, you will love this DLC, and I would highly recommend it. So yeah, that's my review of it. I'm not going to review it, I'm just going to give you my theory crafting, of course, here. Now, just to reiterate again, spoiler warning, this is your last chance to click off this video now. Go watch something else. Maybe go watch my playthrough in case you can't get it, because my playthrough has actually done surprisingly well, and I thank you so much for that. It's actually probably my most viewed playthrough ever. And I thank you so much for that. But let's get down to the nitty and gritty of things. Now, the DLC overall, of course, I absolutely enjoyed. I loved it. I especially loved, if you saw my playthrough, the interaction with our party members set 2 years after the events of Inquisition, which was, of course, when this game was set, when the DLC was set. It was fun seeing what happened to the team, basically what happened to Bull, finding out that Cole has a girlfriend now. Cassandra is doing really well with building the Seekers. Liliana's the Divine. Vivienne is still her pompous ass self. Dorian is the Tevinter ambassador and is going to be making some major change in Tevinter. Varric is the Viscount of Kirkwall, which I'm just like, yes, we have royalty. Of course, Bull and his Chargers. Blackwall, in my version, is with the Wardens. And of course, Josephine's doing well. Cullen gets a new doggy, which made me laugh my ass off. And of course, who else was there? Oh yeah, and I cannot forget, in my playthrough, my darling Sarah and my Inquisitor Ykera finally did tie the knot. And I cannot say, if you saw my playthrough, I was laughing my ass off at Sarah's proposal. It was adorable, it was sweet, it warmed my freaking heart, and I did not expect it. And honestly, I expected them to be like, I was not expecting Sarah, of all that romance, to be ask my Inquisitor to marry her. I was thought it would be my Inquisitor that would ask her, but that made me smile, and she looked adorable in her dress. She looked absolutely stunning. I like good dresses, they look fabulous. I do know that you can also marry Cullen. I did watch that one, watching Ash's reaction to it was hilarious. I wish I could see abilities when she did it. But I love that little touches. Just little touches like that made the DLC really fun. Finding what happened to our party members. Like, they didn't have to do the whole marriage thing with certain romances, and they didn't do it with all of them, which I'm a bit disappointed in. Because in all honesty, I would love if my Inquisitor, my Elven Inquisitor, could pop the question to Cassandra. But that's just me. I can fantasize. But yeah, just hearing how the party members have been doing after the events, of course, Inquisition, was really, really lovely. I think it was handled a bit better here than it was in Dragon Age Awakening. We didn't really get too much of our previous party members in that DLC. But this DLC, I think, did a good job of that, of showing how your party members, even after the Inquisition, wasn't really needed to an extent, even though it was still active. It was still nice seeing that, and I really did like that. Now, of course, that being said, let's get to the main plot of the DLC. Now, I knew pretty much right from the start of Inquisition that if we did get to an Inquisition, and we had that kind of level of power that, in all honesty, would rival any of the nations in Thedas, I knew eventually that after we had outlived our usefulness, that the other nations would come after the Inquisition, either demanding our loyalty or demanding our disbanding, and that is exactly what happened. Ferelden wants us disbanded, and Orlais wants us to bend the knee to them and be under the reign of Orlais, which neither option is one I like. Oops, I apologise for that. But it's the same thing as though Dragon Age does this really well, is that I could see why they wanted that. The Inquisition is a threat to some people, is probably one of the most powerful organizations in Thedas at that time, and it just made you think, oh, I can definitely see why Freljord would want us disbanded. I can definitely see why Olaise would want us to be separate, bend a knee to them, basically, especially Olaise, the pompous assholes. Although, in my opinion, the Inquisition was one of the very few things that the Dragon Age world needed, which was a neutral party. The Grey Wardens are the other organisation that are meant to be a neutral party, but the Inquisition is a neutral party. Even though they do, in some way, kind of work for the Chantry, the Inquisition, the modern Inquisition at least, is definitely a neutral party. They are there. They do what they need to do to keep this world safe. At least that's what my Inquisition did. And it was kind of interesting to see the political game and all that, even though whoever you put on the... now, mine was Divine Victoria, which was Liliana, so she was very much on my side. Even though I understood her circumstances. I also really liked Josephine in this DLC, the way that she reacted to the whole situation, because she was furious, and Allegra Clark did an excellent job portraying that, especially showing how she had evolved as a character as well. Just seeing her reaction to that, and of course, that whole intrigue is the sort of like the side plot, if I'm going to be honest. The main plot, of course, is the fact that the Qunari and the Illuvians are connected, and finding out that little mystery of like why the Qunari had suddenly gained access to the Illuvians basically made me go, holy shit, what the hell is going on? And of course, I knew that the Qunari were going to do something big, because after what my Inquisitor did to them, which basically was, go screw yourself, take your thing as well. I'm going with Bull here and the Chargers. I'll take them over an entire army of Qunari any day. I knew that the Qunari were going to be up to something, because I could definitely see them fearing the Inquisitor, especially with that mark, even though in the DLC we lose it, and but that's for another part of this video. But I definitely knew that the Qunari were going to, and hearing this Qunari threat coming was definitely very interesting, and also showing how desperate the Qunari were, because they were doing stuff that they'd never done before, at least this faction of them were, which was run by the Vedasari, I believe her name was. I do apologise if I forget her name. The Qunari names are always... It takes me ages to learn them, but I definitely liked that aspect of the Qunari base of this faction, at least, were desperate, giving their Cerberus's Lydium, which they had never done before, which made them incredibly powerful. And even then, Cerberus beforehand were incredibly powerful, which giving them Lydia was just like supercharging them, which just made me go, holy freaking heck, that's a tough fight. And if you saw when I did the boss battle against the big Qunari, Cerberus, sorry, that was a tough battle. And rightly so. I fully expected it to be incredibly challenging. But it definitely opened up a few doors and a few intriguing things about Qunari culture, and also showing that they had access to the Illuvians somehow. It just shows that when the Qunari set their mind to something, they can pretty much guarantee they're going to do it, even if they have to go through, like, I don't know, a couple of dozen people, if not a couple of hundred. And I definitely felt the Qunari, their justification was to assassinate every noble in all of Thedas so that the people could be free, because that's the way they view things. They view things as the high and noble ones are just pompous assholes, and it's them that's the major fault, and the people would revolt if they could, if they weren't so placid. You could understand their justification, but at the same time you couldn't let them do it. You couldn't exactly let them take control of a freaking dragon. Which, by the way, Qunari, what the fuck? But yeah, that was a tough fight. It took me a few tries to get it out of there. But I definitely like that. We get a little bit more insight into the Qunari culture again, even though we did get a very large amount of that in Dragon Age 2, and of course with Iron Bull. And if you take him with you on the party, you get some really interesting conversations about how he talks about the Qunari and their current actions right now. I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. Now, of course, that being said, there is the major aspect of thing that we are going to talk about, and that is, of course, the Illuvians and Solus. Now, firstly, we do actually get confirmation on something that a lot of people have been speculating for a while now, and that is now, this is going to contain spoilers for this book, Masked Empire, of course. What the hell was his name again? I believe his name was Slow Arrow. I can't remember his Ilvani name off the top of my head. I don't know if it's in the blob, is it? No, it begins with an F. I'm horrible with names, I do apologise, but we finally get confirmation on who he was working for, and that was Solus, aka Fen'Haral. It turns out that Solus has actually been kind of active with agents of Fen'Haral. Apparently, loyal elves have basically infiltrated different factions in all of Thedas by the looks of it. Very much in the line of the Kunari, who have the Ben Hasserith. It seems like Solus has been scouring agents, and it turns out he even has agents inside the Inquisition, and it was due to his influence that we found out about the whole Kunari plot. Basically, if he hadn't given us some breadcrumbs, we would never have figured it out by then. So we find out that there is two factions who have spies all over Thedas now. There is the Fen'Haral's agents, and of course the Kunari Ben Hasserith, the pre-order. But these Fen'Haral agents definitely add another kink in the clockworks of things. It's definitely kind of interesting. And of course, the major thing we find out, of course, is, which we already knew, but our Inquisitor didn't know, was that Solus is the Dread Wolf. He is the Dread Wolf, and the major aspect that we find out in this DLC is what he did for the Elvani people, at least the original Elvanis, before they lost their immortality, and that was that the elven gods were not gods, they were merely powerful mages, very much in the lines of Tevinter with the Tevinter Magisters. They were, as he described them, generals in a great civil war who became kings, who then became gods. Very powerful mages, that's all they were. This was a theory I've had for a while, that the elven gods were not gods, they were merely just powerful mages. And that's something I've always theorized because it makes a lot of sense, because some people would view magic as godlike. And it describes how Fen'Haral basically helped bring a revolution on it. He freed slaves, he removed their Vidasali, I believe it is, the tattoos on their face, which are actually slave markings, which just makes me go, you could Dalish, don't tell the Dalish that. But we find out the biggest reveal, of course, is the fact that Solus, aka the Dread Wolf Fen'Haral, created the Veil. The Veil never existed before. We find out this by travelling to the library, of course, and fuck the librarians, by the way. We find this out by gathering information that, and of course Solus tells us outright, that at one point the Fade and the real world were never separated. They were like the Alluvians, they were just doorways. You could just go into the Fade, no problem. There was no separation with it. The elves drew magic from the Fade. Fade is the major source of magic, so they drew magic from there. That's what gave them their immortality. That's what gave them their magic. Magic wasn't just something that a handful that some people had. It was something that everyone had. Magic was thing, and magic was the reason that they were immortal. And what Solus did, what Fen'Haral did, was he basically put up a blockage, the Veil. He created the Veil out of desperation, he states. He created it, which basically cut off the connection of magic between the Elvani people and the Fade. There are people who are trapped inside the Fade by the looks of it, from the skeletons we find and the history that we find and the books that we read, that there were people who were cut in there, that he basically imprisoned the gods. He imprisoned them, banished them, basically made them imprisoned. And he did all of this because they killed Mathal, who came back, of course, as Flameth. But that's the thing that made him do all this. That he killed Mathal, who, in his eyes, was the best of them, was the kindest, the generous, the one, by the looks of it, his one and only true love. He banished the Elvani gods, which in all honesty, he didn't say he killed them, so they're probably still about, in all honesty. People who have that kind of magic to become gods don't exactly give up easily. But then we find out that he did create the Veil, which was something that now he didn't find this out until after it, which removed Elvani immortality, made magic a much more rarer thing, and basically turned the Elvani Empire into a crumbling nation, just completely destroyed. Tevinter coming in, humans coming all about. Basically, elves in modern day are now a mere fraction of what they used to be. Not even a fraction. There is virtually nothing left of the Elvani Empire that Solus or Fen'Haral once knew. All that's left are the Dalish elves and a couple of relics all over the place. It just shows that, and of course, it just shows that he regrets it, even though it was a desperate act. It shows that he was desperate and he took an act that he does regret now. And then, of course, it comes to what his plan was. With the orb, our anchor, the breach. He initially intended to destroy the world, and he still intends to. That's what was his original plan was. The orb of Fen-Haral, the artifact that gave us the anchor. He intended to allow Corypheus to open up a rift and basically have that tear there. And allow basically the veil to be torn. To, in his eyes, scorch the earth. Just scorch the earth, basically. Fresh start. And raise the Elvani people back to what they were. But due to the fact that Corypheus has figured out how to be immortal with the whole creepy black ooze kind of thing, it just kind of fell apart. And he needed, of course, the help of the Inquisition. And that is something that the Canard pointed out, that Solus, basically, with breadcrumbs, guided us. He never told us what to do. He merely gave us suggestions and little hints and clues. He never explicitly ordered us. We are not agents of Fen-Haral. He merely aided us and gave us some advice here or there. But of course, the anchor at this point is killing the Inquisitor, and Solus does something that's kind of nice. At least he saves the Inquisitor's life, but it costs the Inquisitor their hand. I think from this point downwards, it's gone now. Which, thanks for saving my life. Now I'm nubby. But of course, that being said, it just shows that the level of respect that Solus actually had for us. He even states that you showed him, depending on how you played your Inquisitor. I'm just going with mine, Ikera, that this world did have some good people in it. That you were an example of the best of your world, and he is sad that he has to destroy this world, and he doesn't want to do it, but to see his people back to what they were, he has no choice. In his mindset, he has no choice but to scorch the earth, save what else he can, and bring back the Elvani Empire. And our job is not to let that happen. That's at least what I think the next game is going to be. But that being said, this DLC is very much in the line of it shows that it's leading up to something. It showed the end of the Inquisition, because the Inquisition by the end of this game, the DLC, is no more. Your choices are as followed. You can either disband the Inquisition or bend the knee, basically, and be under the rule of Divine Victoria. Now, this actually explains it quite apparently that there's actually good and bad reasons for this. Now, the main reason that disbanding the Inquisition would be good is the fact that the Inquisition has become such a large force that there's no way they can weed out the spies of Fen-Haral or the Ben Hasrith. There's no way they could weed out the spies, and they would be corruptible. This DLC's main theme, in my opinion, is corruption. It shows that power does corrupt, and Fen-Haral has agents, and he would get information. He would maybe influence the Inquisition in some way. That is definitely a major factor that you have to take into consideration, but that's the negative reason to keep the Inquisition in a way about with, of course, under the rule of Divine Victoria. The positive, though, is that it would actually allow you to fight back against Fen-Haral. It would allow you to slow Solus's progress, because right now the Inquisition would be the only thing stopping Solus, because every other nation wouldn't even know where to begin. Do you really think any nation would believe, okay, listen up, here's what's happening, an old elven god, mage, is going to destroy the world, we kind of need to work together or we're all screwed? Saying that would give them plenty of reason to just be like, okay, Inquisitor, just go to the madhouse, lock him up, we're taking over the Inquisition right now. So yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to believe that an old elven god is coming back. Even though this world has demons, Maker, archdemons, and of course, the Blight. But elven god is just too much. So yeah, I definitely don't think that would happen. Now that's basically the dilemma, is that if you keep the Inquisition, there will be Fen-Haral spies and there will be corruption, but you'll still have enough force and enough power to maybe slow down Fen-Haral or Solus, depending on what you want to call him. You'll be able to slow down his actions, but you will never know if it's going to be 100% accurate due to the fact that he will have agents who will try and delude you. then you can disband the Inquisition, which would basically remove the Inquisition entirely from being corrupted, right? Because there would be no Inquisition. But Solus would have no opposition then, or at least less opposition. And I chose to keep the Inquisition around, even though I knew that that was going to happen. But that was just my choice. That was my personal choice, and I just think it's better to keep the Inquisition around, even if it could become corrupted, to at least slow down Solus and Fen'Haral. But then we get into the end of the DLC, the very, very end of the DLC, which takes us back to Haven. Now, it is Haven by the looks of it. It looks like Haven's been dug up for the past 2 years, where it shows the Inquisitor, Josephine, Cullen, and Liliana. 4 people. And I think for me it was Sarah who was with me. I think it was Sarah. I'm not 100% certain. I would need to go back and rewatch it. I probably should have. But it shows basically 4 to 5 people, 4 to 6 people in the Haven room, in the war table, looking over a map, and the Inquisitor with their nubby arm, basically saying, we still have to fight against Fen'Haral. We need to slow him down, and we need allies. And there's one place that we know we can get allies. And stabs a knife into the map to Tevinter. And we have an ally in Tevinter, Dorian, who is our main, who's becoming quite popular. If I don't say so myself. But yeah, it seems like whatever choice you make, your Inquisitor is not going to be like, okay, well, I give up, I'm just going to sit at the sidelines, see you later, bye-bye. Your Inquisitor is like, no, I'm not going to sit at the sidelines. Everyone in that room is the only ones who probably know this. They're like, look, we might not be able to do what we want to do right now, but we're going to go somewhere. We're going to get allies. We're going to fight against Fen'Haral, and we're going to one place that even he won't go, and that would be Tevinter. So that definitely is leading into the next game, of course, where it looks like we are going to Tevinter, the one place, actually one of the places that we have yet to actually be in the Dragon Age games. So definitely looks like we're going to Tevinter, but this DLC definitely opened up a lot of theories, a lot of fan crafting, and gave us some very important answers and revelations to the game, basically. To the Lord as well, of course, especially the other DLCs, of course, Hakon giving us a good example of Chantry history being wrong, and of course the Descent revealing the Titans, and of course now Trespasser revealing, of course, that the Veil was an actual creation created by Fen'Haral that he regrets, and that it can be removed, because that's his plan, is to remove it. But it's been so long since he put it up, he probably knows that the Veil is incredibly strong. And it just opens up a lot of questions as what would happen if the Veil was ripped open. We saw it on a small scale, and I'm talking a small scale. The breach is a small scale in my... It might have been a huge threat, but compared to removing the entire Veil, that's small. That would be like... It would be like what we saw in the Redcliffe quest, with the Veil torn open, the skies a different colour, fade everywhere. It just opens up a lot of questions. It opens up a lot of things that makes you go, holy crap, what the hell? But this DLC definitely was a good end to Dragon Age Inquisition. It definitely wrapped things up. In a nutshell, it basically says, look, you're no longer the Inquisitor. The Inquisition is no longer what it used to be after the end of this DLC. But it doesn't mean your Inquisitor is going to sit there and do nothing. They're going to do something. They're going to go to Tevinter if they have to and get allies. And with the help of our darling, lovely Dorian, I have no doubt that we will gain many allies in Tevinter to help fight against Fen'Haral. Because I definitely feel that that is the next game. And in all honesty, I think that might actually be where the Dragon Age series either is going to end, or at least do some form of reboot and also like move into the next age. Because we've only got like 60 years left in the Dragon Age in the timeline anyway, so I don't know, I feel like we're going to do some form of time jump in the next game, but I'm not going to get too much into that. But I definitely feel as though this is coming to like the end of a story. Like, we're getting close to like Dragon Age and Dragon Age 2 are what is book 1, Inquisition was book 2, and the next Dragon Age is the 3rd book, which is going to do everything. It's going to be big. That's at least my feeling I'm coming across, is that that's what I think is going to be the next game. But I don't want to spend too much time. I'm going to spend an entire video on that, talking about what I think of the game. But I definitely have to give major thank you and major props to BioWare. In my opinion, Inquisition was an outstanding game. I absolutely loved it. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved everything, and I definitely want to give one last little shout out, of course, to, but well, not last, of course. This is how I'm going to end the video, but this is the topic over that. That's me giving my own thoughts on the Trespasser DLC. I have a lot of theories and I have a lot of ideas that when I do eventually do my videos on them, I will cover them. But I do want to do one last thing before I wrap up this video, and that is say, this is the end. Like, this isn't the final time, my final Dragon Age video. This is the end of Inquisition. We have an ending now. Now, of course, I'm going to play it again, but I've been covering this game for, I think, nearly anywhere from 2 to 3 years now, I think, actually. I'm not 100% certain. I can't remember, but definitely at least 2 years. And it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. It seems like only yesterday I was talking about the debut trailer for Inquisition when BioWare first announced it. It does not feel like that long ago, but it is. And I've been covering this game for oh so long, and it's basically in part thanks to this game that my channel has grown to the extent that it has. It's thanks to this game that I've met some awesome people. And it definitely means that this game is going to have a special place in my heart, just for the fact that, of course, it's an absolute outstanding game, but it helped me do something different. It helped me make this channel a bit more unique, in my opinion. And I thank BioWare for that, for giving me the inspiration to cover this game, to talk about it and give my thoughts on it. And it doesn't seem like that long ago that I did start covering it. And of course, I have to thank all of you for sitting around and listening to me talk about it. Thank you so much. I know my videos aren't that great, but thank you so much for anyone who's stuck around, no matter how long you've been here. If you've been here since I started covering Dragon Age Inquisition, thank you for sticking around for so long. But if you've only just came to it in my playthrough, thanks, welcome. I hope you'll stick around and don't be a stranger. Thank you all so much for sticking around with me and being there with me while we covered this game. But it's ended now, and it doesn't feel like it. And now we move on to the next Dragon Age game that I will definitely be covering. Do not worry about it. And it's outstanding, and I definitely want to thank basically everyone involved in making this game, from the programmers, art team, voice actors, voice directors, writers, concept artists, whoever. If you worked on this game, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it. The reason I'm not saying names is because I will forget someone, and I don't know every single person who worked on this game's name. I do apologise for that. There's a lot of people I'd love to thank, and I definitely want to thank that. There is a couple of people in particular that I have to give a little thank to for, and that is, of course, one of them, of course, is Alexa Wilton Regan, who was the voice of my main Inquisitor, Ykera. Thank you, Alexa Wilton Regan, for voicing my Inquisitor, because your voice just made her seem that bad. So that's no offense to the other voice actress. I believe is I cannot pronounce her bloody name. I don't know why, but I know it's something. I do apologize. I do apologize for getting your name. But every main voice actor for the Inquisitor is absolutely outstanding. But Alexa Wilton Regan is my Inquisitor, and she did an outstanding job of that. And hopefully we'll see her in other games. There, of course, are plenty of other voice actors I'd love to thank, but that's my Inquisitor, and I definitely wanted to at least give her a little shout out. And I think that's where I'll wrap things up there, of course. And of course, I will actually ask a little question to all of you out there. How do you feel about the end of Inquisition? Give your final thoughts on Inquisition in a nutshell. Like, in the comment section, from beginning to end, with this DLC being the penultimate end. What's your thoughts on Inquisition? Are you happy with how it ending? And of course, what's the first thing you're going to do in Adventure when you get there? Because I've got a few things I want to do besides punch some Magister in the face. But other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for sticking around, and here's to the next Dragon Age game that comes out. Although I think the major thing we're going to be covering next, of course, is in the stars, in a galaxy far, far away. Mass Effect Andromeda. What, you thought I was going to say Star Wars? I'll see you all next time. Sorry. I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now. Bye. Mwah. Well, I guess I could end it proper like this. For the Inquisition.